Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. Are we good to go? Good afternoon. Welcome to the Natomas Charter School Board of Directors regular meeting, June 12, 2023. Calling us to order at 5:33. Let's proceed to roll call. Doug Gaffney.
Present.
Nita Kushal. Here. Sean King.
Here.
Gina Lee.
Here.
Dr. Maria Mejorado.
Here.
Pretty Merchant.
Pretty will not be joining us today.
Okay. Jennifer Morgan.
Jennifer Morgan is on her way. She will likely be joining you all during closed session, and we'll notate the record when you come back.
All right, and I am here, Shantae Norton. And our students will join us after closed session?
Correct.
Got it. Hearing of the public for items on the closed session agenda.
Nothing received with me.
All right, we will adjourn to closed session to consider and/or take action upon any of the following. Public employee performance evaluation pursuant to Government Code, Section 54954.2. Executive Director Evaluation and Employment with Dr. Joe Wood. We will, adjourn to closed session at 5:34. 4. That's where you would have them. Yeah.
Welcome back. I will reconvene open session at 6:23. No action taken during closed session. Ms. Hone, did you update that I'm here?
For the record, I would like to state that Jennifer Morgan is back
Thank
in with us. She joined us during closed session. I'd also like to point out for the record that we have our student board representatives, Tanvi here, Lillian here. We do not have Diego.
Okay.
Okay. Student information updates can begin now. Diego's first on our list. Do we have his update in here?
We do.
Would someone like to?
I can read it.
Thank you.
So this is the Early College Academy Student Report from Diego Alfaro. So we had our 9th grade field trips. We had a group of 9th graders go to the fire station and to the food bank. The seniors went to Star Academy in their caps and gowns on May 24th. That was for our senior walk. Seniors went on their senior trip to Universal Studios May 25th and 26th. I'm going to give a big shout out to Ms. Woods and the chaperones who went on that because they didn't get to sleep for 24 hours. Not something I would do very well, so kudos to that. ECA had Day on the Green on June 5th. Their senior dinner was on June 7th. We had our graduation ceremony last Thursday night on June 8th. Tournament of the Nights was the festivities that ended the school year on June 9th. We had, during Tournament of the Nights, they had their semester 2 awards ceremony. They had free food. And then they had activities including video games, Pictionary, trivia, karaoke, volleyball, tug of war, and carnival games.
Excellent. All right. Thank you for the update, Diego. Delivered via Dr. Wood. Leading Edge, Tommy.
It's the end of the school year. So happy. But I honestly can't believe it's the end of the year already. So to start June off, we had our Summer Lua dance. It was a Hawaiian / summer theme, and we had Hawaiian BBQ catering, and we had a professional DJ, and people just had a lot of fun. And then we had the end of the year school trip on June 8th. 6th graders went to Scandia, 7th graders went to Sunsplash, and 8th graders went to Six Flags. And then we had our last rally on May 19th, where we kind of like sent off the 8th graders and kind of promoted the 6th and 7th graders. And we just had like a lot of games, and our 8th graders beat our teachers in dodgeball. So round of applause to them. And then we had field day on June 9th, where we had popsicles, nachos, volleyball, just like a day to like hang out with your friends and play a lot of sports. We also had karaoke in the gym. And we had our Get Buckets basketball tournament, which was like going on for the last like 2 to 3 weeks of the school, where like a 7th grader, Jeremiah Payne, organized a basketball tournament where groups of like 3 people group up and they play against other teams during lunch. And he actually coordinated with Dr. Locktev, so like it was pretty good. So kudos to him. And I think the last one was like the Wednesday of the last week of school. And then we had Memorial Day and Staff Development Day, May 26th to 29th. And then we had our 8th grade portfolio presentations. If you don't know, Leading Edge's tradition is like 8th graders present their growth from their 6th grade to 8th grade year through portfolio presentations, which is like I think 5 to 10 minute presentation that they present in front of a panel of adults. I think one teacher from Leading Edge has to be on their panel. And then we had our Pillar Awards ceremony where we got our Pillar Awards for Trimester 3. And that is it for this school year.
All right, thank you. Okay, next up, Key with our PFAA update.
Okay, so good evening, board. This is the last board meeting of the year and the last one I'll be giving because, I'm not going to be vice president next year. So anyway, to start off, all of the level 2 music classes did an amazing job at Six Flags for the Music at the Parks on May 13th. So vocal 2, jazz band, and strings 2 won first in their division, choir won overall, and students Tommy and Layla also won solo awards. So congratulations to everyone. Congratulations to all the classes for placing, and congratulations to the students for an amazing job. The NCS Drama Department and Astor Burial for their senior project held the annual Theater Fest Interwoven in the Black Box Theater on May 13th, and this consisted of several one-act plays directed by Acting 2 honor students, and this went on throughout the entire day. So congrats to everyone for a really, really amazing showcase of plays. And then May 15th to 19th, ASB planned out a final Spirit Week with a last awesome lunch of the year happening, featuring seniors and staff on the Friday of the week. The NCS Dance Department, had their spring dance celebration performances and rehearsals from May 16th to 19th. And so great job to all the dancers and the tech group for putting on one last amazing dance performance. And the very last performance of the year was held by the vocal department with the showcases of Bloom. And so this happened on tech rehearsals and the showcases from May 22nd to 25th. So great job to all the vocalists and tech for this final show of the year. It was really emotional, but everyone did so good, and I'm so glad I got to tech for that show. And on May 24th, the juniors did an amazing job in planning out the senior breakfast for the morning of May 24th. So if you guys don't know what senior breakfast is, it's basically when all the juniors come together and just from the very beginning of the year, they plan out like performances, food and like everything. Just it's a whole like really cool celebration just to just one final gift for the seniors. So I'm really glad that everyone really enjoyed what we put on. And so also what happened on May 24th was the first ever Walk the Star Academy, where they all wore their graduation caps and gowns and interacted with all the elementary students. And I heard it was very cute is what I heard. And like my friends who I grew up with from the very beginning were all like, it was just really, really nice to just walk around and just be like, oh, we're at our elementary school again. That's something I'll be looking forward to next year. So ASB also held their last 8th grade celebration, which was the last chance for the 8th graders to hang out and eat ice cream with their friends before promoting. And on May 25th, the annual blood drive was held at the gym. Link Crew held May Play Day in the gym on May 31st. So this was a chance for the upcoming Link Crew leaders to interact with each other and bond. Again, Link Crew is basically where like the upperclassmen are just like mentors to the upcoming freshmen. So we're just preparing for that, and I can't wait for that to happen. And then the award ceremonies were held on May 31st for the middle schoolers and June 1st for the high schoolers in the Ben. So congratulations to all the students who received awards this year. June 1st also marked the first day of finals and continued on from the 2nd to the 7th. And ASB's final event of the year, Day on the Green, happened on June 2nd out on the field, and they were inflatables, food trucks, live student and teacher performances, staff versus senior kickball, and crowning, and an overall fun final event to end off the school year. And I messed up the date for this, but promotion was the day prior to graduation. So congratulations to all the 8th graders and seniors for promoting and graduating. And the last thing that happened was on June 9th, which is where we just had like win time workshops and it was just one final last day of school where we could all just have fun. And then the seniors got their diplomas at the very end of the day. So overall, a really fun month, and I'm really grateful that I could do this report for all of you guys for this year. So thank you guys so much.
Lily Carter.
We've been wrapping up school the last few weeks. School ended on the 9th. The end of the year all packed picnic was April 19th. The last day of workshops was May 25th. Project X had a park day on May 25th, and open house was also May 25th. Both drama classes did their performances. The primary drama class did government and citizenship How Democracy Came to the Hive, and the older kids did Hamlet. And the packed dance recital was May 30th. The eighth grade Keystone presentations were May 31st. All the eighth graders came in and presented 10 key moments in their life that have shaped them into who they are now. Promotion was on June 6th. Packed eighth grade breakfast was June 7th, and Packed joined Bleeding Edge on a trip to Six Flags June 8th.
Oh, you wanna go? Let's go. No script? Okay.
I know, we're winging it. Would you like to kick us off? So,
Since we're winging it.
we're winging it. You guys are the first time we're doing this, so what we wanted to do is we wanted to take a moment to thank you for your service this year. We know that you've had to spend many Monday evenings with us, and putting all the information together to share what's happening in each of your academies, but your voice has been an important part of all of our meetings. And I would think often our favorite part of the meeting, right? So with that, we're gonna call you up one by one here, and we have a little plaque for you to sort of commemorate your service. So I'm gonna start with Keith. You can go ahead and come on up. And we'll have you stand with that. You can stand with it. All right, next I'm going to have Tanvi come on up. Thank you, Tanvi. You can stay with the service. And then we're gonna have Lily, come on up, Lily. Thank you. Thank you very much. There we go, and we'll have you stand over there. And then, let's see, maybe we get a picture all together. Is Ms. Carter gonna take a picture?
I got it.
And then actually, I'll hold Diego, it's like he's here in spirit. Make sure to get it to him.
Oh my God,
He's on vacation.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
So thank you guys very, very much. Thank you. Thank you, Ben. Okay.
I love Gary. One of my favorite people. Thank you.
So of course, you're more than welcome to stay with us this evening, or if you have other things to do, because it is the first day of summer break. I understand.
It's actually my sister's birthday today.
Oh, we need to go celebrate that.
Yeah, so, I'm gonna take your lead forward. I just wanna say I really enjoyed this year, and Dr. Wood especially. I see him on campus, I just like have to go and say hi to him, because I see him every board meeting. And Miss Hone is just amazing. Everyone here, I just see something really special in all of you, so thank you. And I'm gonna miss you guys next year.
Oh, thank you.
What's that?
How can I take the board?
Yeah.
Keep this with you
Souvenir.
forever.
Bye,
Bye,
Tommy. Have a good summer. Bye, Lily.
Bye.
Have a good summer.
Also going to keep.
Are you not-
But you gotta take your name tag too.
Yeah.
You guys, you don't have seat cushions, right?
No.
When you graduate and finish school and come back to be on the board of directors of the school, you get a seat cushion. That's your aspiration there.
That's what I'm looking forward to. But yeah, and I also wanted to say yeah, thank you so much. Just I'm usually like really bad at public speaking, so I'm usually really shy, but this helped me to come out of my shell a lot more. And especially at the beginning with Miss Helen, when you would help me in your office, it really helped me become more comfortable. And so yeah, I had a lot of fun doing this as vice president, and I really hope that you guys will be proud of my work as president next year. And so thank you guys so much. So take care of yourselves over the summer.
Thank you.
Congratulations on president. All right, hearing of the public for items not on the agenda.
Nothing received with me,
Nothing. Hearing of the public for items on the agenda.
also nothing received with me.
Okay. Comments, thoughts, ideas for tonight's agenda? Okay. May I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda? So, thank you, Dr. Mayorallo. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Roll call vote, Doug.
Yes.
Sean?
Yes.
Maria?
Yes.
Jennifer, I'm a yes. Ashante?
Yes.
Gina?
Yes.
Dita? Yes. All right, next up. There you go, Jen. Jen, thank you. Thank you very much, I appreciate that. I'm gonna write your name down here. Let's see, next up, consent items, personnel changes, May 8th board meeting minutes, PFAA and leading edge ASB fundraising schedule. Comments, questions, ideas, thoughts? We have a motion from the lady on the end. So moved.
I'll second.
Thank you. Roll call vote, Nita. Yes. Gina.
Yes.
Ashante.
Yes.
Jennifer, I'm a yes. Maria?
Yes.
Yes.
Sean? Okay. Doug?
Yes.
Thank you. All right. I only do this once a month. Let's see, action items. Approval of declaration of need for fully qualified teachers, Dr. Wood.
So the approval of declaration of need for fully qualified teachers, this is something that we do annually. At this point, we're looking to start the year with fully qualified teachers, but things always happen over the summer during the next 8 weeks. And sometimes we find ourselves in a position where we have to have a teacher on what's called a PIP or a STIP, but basically it's a short-term or provisional internship permit. And in order for us to be able to hire people that are in that situation, we actually have to have this declaration of need for fully qualified educators on file. So every June for about the past 3 or 4 years, you guys have actually approved this. And as you can see, it's pretty standard. Basically, if we could be looking for up to 2 world language teachers or 2 math teachers or 2 health teachers, et cetera, and some of our hard to fill high need positions throughout the state.
No questions. Do we have to sign that at the end? Is that one of them that we have to sign?
No.
No.
Just I have to sign it, yeah.
Okay, there are a few in here that we have to sign, so while I'm thinking about it, sign.
Yeah, don't go anywhere. That's John Hancock.
Okay, may I have a motion to approve declaration of need for fully qualified teachers? Thank you, Doug. May I have a second? Second. Thank you, Ashante. Roll call vote. Nita?
Yes.
Gina? Yes. Ashante? Jennifer? I'm a yes. Dr. Mayorallo?
Yes.
Yes.
Sean? Doug?
Yes.
Okay, next. This is the one we have to sign. Anita, approval of resolution 06122023.01, certification of signatures.
This is another annual one that you guys are used to seeing. On the resolution, it shows who is, not only does it have your official signatures on file for the county and the district to see, but also part 2 is what Joe and I can approve on behalf of the school, and then as well as Laura and Petra, who's going to be our new director of student services as well. That is one that you will have to sign at the end of the meeting.
Okay, great. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you, Ashante. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Oh, duke it out. Nita or Sean? Nita.
Needed.
Okay, roll call vote. Nita?
Yes.
Gina?
Yes.
Ashante?
Yes.
Jennifer, I'm a yes. Maria?
Yes.
Sean?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Okay. Next, another resolution 06122023.02, certification of signatures for Leading Edge Associated Student Body Revolving Fund.
And I would like to, so in my rush for copying that certification, I use the other one, it is to establish a revolving fund for the ASB. So when you look at the resolution, that the word certification of signatures, just take that out, and it should be Leading Edge Associated Student Body Revolving Fund to establish that. And basically what that is they're in need of a cash box Well, they're gonna be working with, our Knights Landing after-school enrichment program and working on some fundraising activities. And, PFAA has a lot of fundraising activities going on. They currently have 2 cash boxes that are always in use. So this would be to establish a $50 nominal cash box that will have an impressed amount, so that means that it will show up on our general ledger as an asset, so we don't forget about it, it's out there. So maybe, Ziba, if we can amend that resolution, so it take where it says, in the matter of certification of signatures, if you could take that out and just put, leading edge associated student body revolving fund.
Sure.
See, but there's a typo, it's at the end, it says fund
Fund.
instead of fund.
The D's
Yeah,
missing.
the D.
Yeah.
It is fun.
I had to, you know, with the whereas and the therefores, I had to make this up, but I started with the certificate of signatures on that because there was not a sample for ASB closed captions.
So then I guess my question is, do you want the board to sign the document as is now, or are we gonna catch signatures on the corrected revised?
I think we should catch signatures on everyone.
And can we do that at the June 26th meeting, or does it have to happen before then?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you guys then
So we'll-
just bring it back?
I'll have it for you.
We'll just have a physical
Yeah,
copy.
yeah.
we'll sign that.
Okay, so do we wanna approve this tonight?
Yeah, I think go ahead and approve it and we'll just have it ready for signatures at the 26th.
Okay. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ashante. Thank you, Gina. Nita?
Yes.
Gina?
Yes.
Ashante?
Yes.
Jennifer, I'm a yes. Dr. Mayorallo?
Yes.
Sean? Doug?
Yes.
Okay. Approval of, boy, we are just approving all kind of signers tonight. It's important stuff. Approval of authorized signers for Sacramento County Office of Education, and
Yes, so this is another annual requirement, we're prepping for next year already, and so this is designating the executive director and the 4 directors authorized to sign as district approval for our county office. So like attendance reports, state reports. And so this one is where the executive director and the directors will sign this.
Okay, great. May I have a motion to approve?
I so moved.
Thank you, Dr. Mayorallo. I need a second, please.
I'll second. Is that Nina? Yes, that is.
Is that NITA?
NITA.
Okay. Roll call vote, Doug.
Yes.
Sean?
Yes.
Maria?
Yes.
Jennifer, I'm a yes. Ashante?
Yes.
Gina?
Yes.
Nita?
Yes.
Okay. All right, moving on. We have the public hearing for 2023-2024 Local Control and Accountability Plan as part of the 2021-24 LCAP. I will open the public hearing for the 2023-2024 LCAP update as part of the 2021-2024 LCAP at 6:45 PM.
Hearing none.
I'm hearing none. I think
We
great.
do have some members of the public, it looks like, online. I will take a moment. Anybody visiting our board meeting via Zoom have any comment regarding our public hearing? Going once, going twice, hearing none.
Okay, I will close public hearing at 6:46. All right, next up, Dr. Wood, enrollment report.
So the numbers before you are basically our final enrollment numbers of the year as of May 31st. This is the time of year where we're not filling spots, so some natural attrition occurs. But probably the bigger thing for the board to know a little bit about is where we're at for the coming school year. So for the coming school year, as of today, we have received just over 2,000 applications. When I looked at the system this morning. So remember, we had about 1,800 going into the lottery, so that means we received about 200 since the lottery. So those students just kind of go on the wait list. But currently, Star Academy, so these are just the grades that we tend to have the most movement on. Kindergarten has 177 students on the wait list at Star Academy. There's a total of 675 students across all grade levels at Star Academy on the wait list. Leading Edge has 68 kids on the 6th grade waiting list with a total of 195 altogether on the wait list across all 3 grades. PFAA has 84 on the wait list in 6th grade and 106 on the wait list in 9th grade with a total of 381 across all the grade levels. And then PAC right now is projected to start the year with 150 students. And ECA is actually projected to start the year with 147 students, which is a significant increase over previous years. So we might be trying to figure out how to help ECA with facilities. We'll see, we'll see. We'll see when we get there. You know, both PACT and ECA tend to have some attrition over the summer, so we'll see where these numbers actually end up when we start. And then even STAR, Leading Edge, and PFA, we always have some attrition over the summer as well. But we have healthy wait lists in each of the key grade levels, so we should be able to fill any open spots that come up. So, expecting good enrollment for the coming school year.
Excellent, okay. Any questions for enrollment report? All right, Anita, our state budget for K-12 education update.
Just gonna get that for you. Okay. Allergies have gotten the best of me, so that's why I came with my supplies. Okay, and I only have 10 minutes to present, so I want to make sure everyone knows. And you all have a copy of the presentation in front of you, more details and stuff too, but see if you can go to the next slide. With the May Revise, Joe and I attended virtually the May Revise around May 19th or so. And as well as these other companies provided their take on it as well. So I wanted to acknowledge some of the information that we got from all of them, so. But also so on the 26th, I'll be presenting to you our 23-24 budget and stuff. But because the economy has changed so much, I asked Joe if I could present a little bit on the May Revise because as board members and administrators of the school, we need to be aware of what we need to look out for on that. So starting with an overview of the state economy and stuff. So the period of unprecedented revenues is clearly over. And when you look at the governor's January proposal compared to the May revision, back then it was a budget shortfall of $22.5 billion in January, and it's grown to 31.5. And on top of that, the legislative analyst is projecting that the May Revise shortfall the numbers compared to that should be an additional 11 billion on that. But the Department of Finance is still projecting slow revenue growth, but no recession during this May Revise time. We did, however, put in a model for a moderate recession, and that would generate about 40 billion on top of the 31.5 if we went into a recession. So just something to keep in mind because there's so many variables that come into play. And so with California, excuse me, I have listed some things that we really do need to keep in mind, such as the federal debt limit impasse that we're going through, high interest rates, inflation, financial institution instability, the delay in the tax receipts instead of them coming in April, where they can project a little tighter May Revise projections. They're now pushed it out to October. So that kind of makes the estimates that they're giving really not as accurate as they could be. We also have uncertainties in economic indicators. Although unemployment is low in California, which is great, and our wages are going up, our GDP is just slightly below average, but it's showing that it's growing. It's just not growing as much. But what we want to also keep an eye on is the housing market that's kind of in a slump. And the other thing too is a lot of the infrastructure for buildings. You see a lot of empty warehouses, commercial buildings and stuff. Those are all financed. And when those come due, that could impact the banks as well and stuff too. So just something to kind of keep in mind. They say the probability of a mild to moderate recession could start as early as this year or 2024. And it's about a 50% probability. So our economic future in California is kind of uncertain, but it can go either way. We've seen this many times over the years, but it's something to keep in mind. If you can go to the next one, please. Excuse me. When it comes to the education side of the budget, remember, there's not a lot of changes between what the governor proposed in January versus May. So Prop 98 guarantee is slightly down because of the overall revenue projections went down on there. But the governor is not tipping into his rainy day fund yet. And also, he does acknowledge that the possibility of lower revenues if their estimates for the final taxes that come in October are off. On the positive, the COLA projection went from 8.13% to 8.22%. And it is provided to increase with some selected categorical programs that we'll go over. And then also one of the things that he did put money into is universal meals. So I don't know if you remember, but students get 2 free meals this year, and they found that they were really short on the cost of that. So they added that. On the negative side, to kind of address some of the shortfall, he is proposing cuts to some of our one-time block grants, which I'll go into more detail. But he's staying the course with his transitional kindergarten program, the learning opportunity program, and then the universal meals. So how he kind of addressed the shortfall. Remember that 31.5 billion is a state budget shortfall. It's not the education side of the house. Prop 98 is a different calculation on that. But he basically is pulling reductions from other programs because it's kind of an election year. We don't know what his plans are officially. They're not really calling it cuts. So you may hear repurposing, reversions, pullbacks, things like that. So that is all throughout this theme. I'm calling them cuts on these slides. But and then he's also going through the state general fund and using other funds within the state to kind of cover some of those things. He only withdrew $450 million from the safety net reserve. But again, he's been adamant about not dipping into the rainy day fund. So see if you can go inside. So Proposition 98, with this proposal in May, our share, the whole Proposition 98 is about 106.8 billion. Of that, the K-12 share is 93.7 billion. So it's approximately 2 billion lower than what they proposed in January because the overall state revenues have lowered. Ziva, can you go to this? So here's a slide that shows the local control funding formula entitlements. So I'm not going to read everything here for you, but with the 8.22% COLA, you can see by grade level the amounts that they're projecting. So there's 2 numbers in parentheses. So for example, the TK through 8, the 9,919, you'll see the +8. That's the additional from the 8.13 to the 8.22 COLA. And then the additional 753 is the difference between when you compare that to the previous year. So going through the typical add-ons on here, one thing I wanted to put out, note is that they did increase the TK add-on for staffing to 3,044 per TK 88. Let's see if you can go. Excuse me. So for Natomas Charter School, that means we're projecting to get 20,575,070. We got about 17,000 additional from the change in the COLA. When you compare to this year, it's about 1.3 million additional. And I also put out here, that means it's 867.92 per ADA or 8.4%. The reason why it's not 8.22% is because our demographics are a little bit lower than the state average. See if you can go to the next one. So one thing that it's affecting is these cuts to one-time block grants and stuff. So in the main proposal, the governor is proposing a total of 4.3 billion in the 2 block grants, the arts, music, and instructional block grant, which was also that discretionary block grant they were counting on, and the learning recovery block grant. So the arts and music piece is about 1.8 billion. So that would mean that we are going to get 485,172 less than what's projected. And then also for the learning recovery grant, 2.5 billion would be reduced. So that means $623,125 for us less. So this is proposing significant challenges to a lot of LEAs. And this is also a hot topic between the Assembly and the senators and stuff, which I'll get into that in a little bit. If you go to the next slide, Ziba. Other state programs, just wanted to mention, special ed is increasing. They're also doing a change regarding state mental health, where those dollars are going to flow directly to the schools and not through the SELPA. We do not have any information on that yet. However, the SELPA did tell us that they have some one-time state mental health dollars that they are going to be allocating out to their members. It'll be on a reimbursement basis, so that will be additional funds as we start next year for that. The expanded learning opportunity program, the 23-24 allocation is still in the state budget, and that equates to over $444,000. The new Prop 28 Arts and Music Grant, the allocation estimate is slightly decreased, but it's projected to be over $235,000. Now, this you will not see in our adopted budget because our county office has asked the schools not to include it because the state doesn't even have it set up yet. Or so you will see that as part of when we book carryovers and part of first report. And then also the good news, I think, though, too, is that the pensions didn't get any worse. The rates are still the same. So, next slide. Okay, so what's not in the budget? Okay, we mentioned that the governor is holding back on drawing down from the rainy day fund. That could be something he can use if things get worse. Also, there is that PISA, which is the, Public Schools Stability Account for education that he can dip into too. I don't know where they come up with these acronyms, but that's what it is. Okay. Also, there's deferrals, cash deferrals. Right now, they're projecting to give us all our cash next year, which is great. However, with the cuts for the block grants, one thing to note is that they gave us all the money for the Learning Recovery Block Grant. So they're going to be taking back money, that $625,000 or so. So we have to set up a payable for that. Also, we got a notice they over appropriated education protection account, which is sales tax money. So they'll be doing adjustments for that. So, and then also too, he can also deficit the cost of living adjustment, the COLA, if they find that they can't afford the 8.22%. So those are some of the tricks that they can do. So what's next is they're going through the budget hearings. However, I was just reading an article today. They've come to an agreement, the state Senate and Assembly. So it is on the governor's desk to sign. We're assuming he's going to sign this because the deadline is June 15th to get it to the governor. And then, of course, he has until the end of the month to sign it. But also, there's a lot of changes in leadership that are going to be happening. Also, there's a lot of new legislators that have never gone through a recession before and stuff too. This is all going to be new to them, and it is an election year, so we'll see. One thing that they were talking about is possibly mid-year cuts, and whether or not it would be October or January. So the good news is we have reserves. That's what our reserves are for. And if you remember, we have not only the 10% economic uncertainties as well, but 1.8 million set aside for salaries and benefits. That's specifically in cases like this where we would delay any type of layoffs and stuff too. And then of course we have our cash reserves too to address any cash deferrals as well. So Ziba, if you could go to the next slide. So what we'll be doing, we're proceeding with caution. We have developed the budget, wrapping up final stages, but it meets all of our strategic goals and the LCAP needs. And then throughout the year, we'll be developing multiple reduction plan scenarios just in case we need them. So we can, plan for the worst, hope for the best. And then we'll just fasten our seatbelts and we'll see how it goes. So I'll open it up for any questions.
question, Ashante?
No,
I mean,
Thank
you.
I think the biggest thing for the board to kind of take away with right now is all the official words are, things are great, things are gonna be fine, like we just got emails in the last hour that a tentative deal was agreed upon, and supposedly the cuts that the governor was proposing in May in terms of some of these one-times are not really gonna be as bad.
Yeah.
But I think anyone with much common sense is kind of sitting there scratching their heads wondering where this money is coming from. And I think the other big fear, Anita's talking about, this is a big deal, is that because of the significant weather issues that we had earlier this winter, spring, the tax filing deadline was delayed till October. So in many cases, at this point in the year, the state would know what revenues they've received. They don't actually know, they won't know officially until October. And so that's what Anita's talking a little bit about, that in October, they could be coming to us and saying, just kidding. And then we're having to kind of think through, what the different scenarios might be. As Anita is highlighting, we have a healthy reserve, which is, due to your, a fiscal prudence. And that's good, because that gives us a little bit of a cushion. But the other districts or charter schools in the area that don't have a strong reserve, this is gonna be a real challenging period of time for them. So we'll just kind of have to see what happens. And like Anita said, we'll, once we understand what the roller coaster is gonna look like a little bit, then we can start making some suggestions in terms of any modifications we need to make to our budget. But we're gonna go into, our June 26th board meeting, assuming that everything the legislative analyst's office is telling us, the governor's office is telling us, and the various groups that Anita was showing at the beginning that we work with are suggesting is the best information that we have. But I appreciate that as a board, you guys don't look at, the additional like 1.2 million that we're supposed to be receiving as let's go buy things now, right? Because we don't know for sure that we're really going to see that money, or we might be finding out in the middle of the year we're not seeing that money, which because charter schools we are funded off the current year enrollment, it's a little bit more precarious than a school district. Thank you, Anita.
Thanks, Anita. All right, next up, Mr. Love with the PFAA presentation.
Just Mr. Love and Ms. Proud tonight.
Okay.
All right, guys, so welcome to this presentation. It's a little snapshot, it's a challenge to put a snapshot of a year into a presentation of, let's look back and then kind of look forward at the same time, and we're gonna try and do that. But as you can see, our theme for this school year was Together We Excel, so we decided that as a team with Ms. Prattle, that we need to do this presentation together. So if we look back, and we're gonna kind of look back through the 3 areas of WASC, and I'm gonna explain some of the photos. We can see that we had lots of goals, goals around scope and sequence and win time, and things that we achieved this year. All of our teachers, I'm happy to say, have just completed that second iteration of the scope and sequence pieces, and we're really starting to solidify a bank of scope and sequences across PFA that we really didn't have before. We've continued with win time intervention support, and that's flourishing. We're actually changing our platform next year based on kind of feedback from students and from teachers. And we're going to be using a PowerSchool platform, which is going to hopefully improve things as well with win time, but it's the same idea. And we've continued our implementation of CPM math curriculum with Fidelity at middle school now and at high school. We've had lots and lots of successes, and we've got some photos of awards nights and dances at school and all those events. Ziba, if you want to keep going to area 2, which was the cohesive culture of innovation and accountability. We really made a big push this year on the cross-campus collaboration piece, and that was seen in a variety of ways, whether that be through academic projects, whether that be through events like the halftime show at the Kings that was put on between all academies, whether that be at the fundraiser that the PE department put on, which was Leading Edge, PFA, and ECA, and had like 250 parents and 250 people come to it with high participation. We also refined our SST process. We've increased parent participation, and so we hit these goals that we started the year off with. in expanding our organizational capacity. So we had a new EL TOSA, and we're going to actually speak a little bit to that a little bit later, but she is absolutely amazing, Miss Ortiz Khan. And we talked about curriculum adoption as a goal. So with high school CPM, amplifying some options in ELA classes. We increased this year, we had higher numbers of dual enrollment than ever before. We had that kind of solidification. I put establishment up here, but it's really the solidifying of CTE pathways. Summer school is continuing, and we're really leaning on our TOSAs. I wanted to include that photograph of a young gentleman on the left-hand side, because we often think of awards nights as nights where we celebrate excellence. This student actually received an award for growth. And I will tell you, if you ask any of the educators or any of the parents in that building, this was the highlight of the evening. Because the Let's Go Charter shout when he won his award was a really special moment, and it really kind of brought back that everyone sees that everyone is excellent in their own way, and we find ways to kind of help them get there, right? But I wanted to include that photograph. If you want to keep going. Just a couple more then. So we've had many events on and off campus. We had the return of lots and lots of field trips this year, but there's a photo of the dance, and there's also community aspects and collaborative projects we've done on campus. So things like the 6th grade Greek Olympics, which is several departments come together and put events on for our 6th graders. And then we already Key spoke to it a little bit, but the senior walk was fabulous. I'm sure you've heard some feedback from it, but just having that possibility of taking all those seniors, ECA and PFA, and having them just share their wisdom with the 5th graders and with all the kids over at Star, which was just tremendous. It was one of the highlights of my year was just being present at that event. I'm hoping there's some photographs. They're coming. They're going. I mean, as far as art goes, we hit some real highs once again at PFAA. From our vocal department and our instrumental department, who, as Key mentioned, just really swept the awards over at Music in the Parks, to our show Something Rotten, and our middle school show earlier in the year, right? So Wizard of Oz, and to some fabulous kind of concerts all the way through. And the artistic excellence was there again this year, and we're really proud of that.
And our excellence, of course, continues with academics. We surveyed our seniors to see how they have, what kind of image they have of PFAA. Let's see, 89% felt that they are well prepared for their post-secondary plans, whatever these might be, because we have a variety there. And 90% of them were satisfied with NCS in general, because we also saw, and we're going to keep seeing an increase of students who have stayed with us, kinder through 12th grade, and they have loved their experience there for 13 years. 74% of our seniors applied to a 4-year university, and of those, 98% got into at least one university. So really high number there that we love. Looking at our emergent bilingual students, we have 24 students who are classified as EL at PFAA. 10 of them this year have really increased their level and are now at level 4 through the LPAC testing, and 3 of them are ready to reclassify. Next year, our EL TOSA, Mrs. Ortiz Khan, is going to integrate academic language development classes through the academic success classes. So we have an academic success for middle school and an academic success for high school. And she's going to push in through those 2 classes to really help the students who need that support with language, academic language especially. And then we're continuing our PD for staff on supporting those students. Looking at our iReady scores, and we use iReady mostly with middle school, you can see, so 6th, 7th, and 8th for math, and then 6th, 7th, and 8th for ELA. And in yellow, you see where the percentage of students who were who classified that as proficient, and then the growth that we had in January. So for example, sixth grade math, we had 28% of our sixth graders classify as proficient in August. And in January, that moved to 38. So we grew by 10 points. I'm very proud of our eighth graders in math. We saw a huge jump there, but we've grown at all levels in both math and ELA this year. Our next steps for reading, we see that some of our tier 3 students are struggling with informational text, comprehension, vocabulary. So our next steps will be to increase supports in ELA through co-teaching, PD for our ELA team, also PD for about science of reading for all of our staff, so that even if you teach math or science or social studies, you can still support students with reading. At the high school level, they will continue to use the Little Seagull curriculum. We'll have summer school, we'll have WIN groups, and we'll still rely on our amazing ELTSA.
And then with math, as you know, that was the number 1 or the number 2 objective from the strategic planning work that we did in October. So with math, we've put a lot of pieces in actually going into next year. So the first one is we have a dedicated math intervention class, which we've never had before. And so that'll be an actual built-in class in the curriculum that we'll be offering to high schoolers. And we've managed to reduce class sizes in math across the board. And so we are, and we're actually, and part of the way in which we're doing that is we are using co-teaching now in all level of maths. At least one section of every grade level will be co-taught, either be it by a general education teacher and an education specialist, or by 2 general education teachers. So we're trying to bring in some norms and some models of co-teaching, really to push that student engagement and to create opportunities for student success. We're continuing with the math PD. In fact, they're actually coming to school, the whole math department, when we're not, in the middle of the summer, which is fantastic and shows their dedication. And we're continuing to use CPM with Fidelity. WIN groups, including now a math intervention specialist. So we'll have exclusive kind of sessions from this intervention specialist. And of course, Ms. Selby, who's our math TOSA, will be continuing to share her expertise with us as well. So it's just some goals, and we're continuing with the scope and sequence work. This time now we're looking at belonging through curriculum as a lens. So we're really kind of taking a deep dive and audit into every scope and sequence and through the different lenses of our school theme, which is going to be belonging. We're developing that cohesive, so we're going to continue with cross-campus collaboration and increased participation. Elsa has been doing some great work with attendance and tardies. We're going to really build into looking at that attendance rate and making it really important that the students are here. We're looking at exploring different programs which are going to help us with that MTSS and SST process. Expanding organizational capacity. So we, as Elsa mentioned, we have these ALD classes now, which is going to be a new thing for next year. Ms. Ortiz-Khan, the EL TOSA, is leading that. And we've got the intervention model through co-teaching at every grade level. And we're excited about doing some PDSA cycles as a staff, PDSA Plan, Do, Study, Act cycles. So it's a professional development cycle, which we'll be doing with our staff throughout the year. So there'll be a few cycles that we'll be working on. And then just a little teaser, even though we have a theme for next year. So I wanted to share with the board before we get started, but the staff know. And it's be here, be you, and belong. So as Dr. Wood shared, the overall NCS piece is building belonging. And we really thought about kind of some actionable things that we can do at PFAA, starting with be here, right? So it's important that you're here. It's important that you're present. It's important, we're going to talk about phones a lot next year. Be you, we're really promoting that, as we always have at PFAA, and in order to belong. And so that's going to be our piece for next year. Questions?
I wanted to highlight the logo was created by Mrs. Kelly, our library maintenance director, and always does amazing work.
Yes. And if you'd like a t-shirt, we just created that design. So we'll figure out some tutorials. I'll make sure we'll get everyone's sizes and we'll make sure you guys have got the t-shirts. Because they're really beautiful.
There will also be a new Natomas Charter School t-shirt.
I just want to say, I think your approaches to math with reducing the class size and offering that, intervention class and, is just great ideas to tackle that big subject, I think that's fantastic, yeah. In addition to the academic language class, that's, that focus is very important as well for EL learners, but it's nice to see ideas and strategies, approaches, to tackle these, so thank you so much for that.
The student needs at PFA and other core academies too, but definitely at PFA are changing. And Elsa and Gareth, along with their staff, have done a really good job of trying to think differently. So part of when Elsa was speaking about our emergent bilingual or EL students, pattern that we're noticing is that if a student who is an emergent bilingual starts with us in kindergarten over at Star Academy, generally they're reclassified by the time they come to middle and high school. But for those students that are coming to us at 6th grade, that is not necessarily the case. And while it might be due to what happened in elementary school, it is ultimately our responsibility to figure out how to meet the kids where they're at and get them reclassified as quickly as possible. And so that's really, Gareth and Elsa working with Alyssa, our EL TOSA, to kind of like rethink, so this is a different group of students than we've necessarily had in the past. And so what supports do they need and how do we really tackle that?
And for clarification as well, just between ALD and ELD, because that's a term that many of you may have heard. ELD, which is specifically for emergent bilingual learners, but ALD, the academic language development, is really focusing on any students who have challenges or any students who are struggling on low levels with reading comprehension. And this year especially, we saw several 6th graders that we've worked with that came to PFAA really struggling to read and really had really low level skills. And so we're not just kind of thinking about emergent bilinguals, although of course that's a major kind of piece. We're also thinking about all of the students who need that foundational reading skills and support.
Anything else?
All right,
Thank you very much.
Next up, the LCAP, Laura.
Yeah. The LCAP. Okay, so the LCAP we had set, which I'm so excited that Mr. Love and Ms. Prettle used the LCAP in their presentation. I've been working really hard with all the principals on is that we're all starting with our big goals and filtering down. So this presentation actually is going to be fairly similar to the WASC one because we've set our WASC and our LCAP rules the same because we're doing the same thing no matter which report we're writing. This is the Local Control and Accountability Plan, or LCAP, and they have specific things that we have to report on each year. From giving like the budget overview for parents, because I know there's a ton of parents out there that are going to read this awesome report. Some summary, what are our goals, where are we hoping to go, and then our expenditure tables. Next slide, please. We also have to show our local indicators, which there are a set of requirements that we have to look at to be able to verify that we're meeting the different local indicators, anywhere from do we have a broad course of study, how are our students or parents engaged, that's our climate, are we using academic standards, all of those things. And so by looking through that, we're meeting all of those indicators. So that brings us to our first goal, which Mr. Love just talked about, which is the Reimagine and Strengthen Teaching and Instruction. And that's really focused on our instruction, making sure that we're all solid on it, coaching, which is work with our TOSAs, and then the social emotional learning curriculum. Next slide, please. So I have some new data and some data we're waiting on because that's how it is. Some of the new data is that From our employee survey, the staff feel that the coaching is very helpful. We're actually up 2 percentage points, or 2 points from last year. So that's good. That means our TOSAs are doing a great job. And one thing I wanted to highlight in that is that as the TOSAs are going and building these programs, what they're doing is they're building the capacity of the teachers, of the classroom teachers. So for example, Ms. Ortiz-Khan was going in and doing some EL support this year. And so next year, she's going in and she's pushing into classes and building the capacity of those teachers so that they can then continue on. And then she'll go build capacity of more people. So we're trying to ensure that all staff can support the kids, and it's not just that one special person, because we all have the capacity once we learn that. Let's see here. We also, our college acceptance rate, it's interesting, our acceptance rates overall, which my numbers are a little bit different because they include ECA. So we're up 2 points for college acceptance. We're actually down 6%, or 6 points from last year as far as applications. Having a senior myself and talking to many, many senior parents out there, there is a movement for families in the area to send their students to community college. It's a lot of cost savings type of thought process, which I understand as I face college payments. And then we have some data we'll be waiting for and getting over this summer and fall. All right, next one, please. So we do have our math data. We don't have our past data yet. It's not all been scored. We're in the high or 90s about as far as how much has been scored. I've been pulling the reports and things today. So that'll be coming soon. But looking at our math data, what you'll see here is that the it's kind of purpley, it's supposed to be gray, I think, is where the kids started the beginning of the year. And so if you look at third grade, we've got 22% of the kids were at proficiency in math. We tested them again in January and they had gone up 24%. And then they tested again at the end of the year and went up another 12%. So they're almost at 60%. That are at proficiency. We don't test the middle school at the end of the year, just because they have CASP testings and finals and all those other things. It's a little much, so we don't have as much data for the middle school. But overall proficiency is increasing by about 28%. Next slide, please. We have our reading data. Which starts out much higher. Of course, keeping in mind kinder, we don't test in the fall because they're just figuring out school. So we don't put them on a computer and test them until midway through the year. So they're always going to start at 0. But we saw some good growth there as well, especially in that first grade level where we're really hitting the phonics and the reading hard. So that is looking good. If you go to the next one. So the analysis here, there's lots of things that we're looking at. We're really working on that implementation of the new curriculum in the math and science area. We just adopted a new science curriculum for high school for next year. So that'll be great. Targeting that intervention. Of course, I'm always excited about reclassifying our emergent bilingual students. And then co-teaching, we piloted the co-teaching that Elsa and Gareth were talking about in one math classroom this year, and we saw that their scores were just popping way up. And so that's why we're implementing it. And I just want to say that all of the strategies that we're using are all like data-based, research-based strategies. So just so you have that peace of mind that we're doing a lot of research. All right, next slide, please. Our second goal is around our cohesive culture of innovation and accountability. Here we're really looking at building out our special education program, using MTSS school-wide, and then getting and retaining staff. So next slide, please. We have some new data here, some to just kind of look at. Parents are still very satisfied. Student engagement is up from last year. We're still in the 90s. It's good, but it's going up, which is great. Let's see. The others, we had some dips in senior satisfaction, employee evaluation process. Not a huge deviation there, but we're digging in to kind of see how we need to communicate that information. Certificated staff retention, which is interesting. Year over year, we went down a little bit. But I was talking with someone today about some of the people that are leaving, and sometimes they're leaving education in general. Other times it's because of a family need or something. So we like looking at all of our data, very, very few of them are actually like, I don't like it here. It's I have something I need to do in my life, like one of the teachers I was talking to today is she's getting to retire early because her husband's retired and that's just where they're at. And so, it's those types of things as well. And then, but we are increasing by 9.1 points the number of staff that are certificated staff that are here 5 years or more. So that means once they're here, they're staying. So that's always nice. Let's see, and our student retention is on the rise as well. Next slide, please. So looking at the analysis here, we have added a lot of inclusive ed or special education staff to support the needs of the students. We have implemented SEL screeners for students, so that lets us know who might be having a problem, so that we're not waiting until the problem is really big and they can't handle it. We're kind of able to reach out and support them, and we're going to be expanding that. I've been working with the student services team this year or this spring, and working on how can we implement that and setting up that team for success for when they work with Ms. Lurson in the fall. Let's see, MTSS has been going well, and working with the TOSAs. We had an excellent meeting today talking about next year and planning and all the professional development, and it's really going to be awesome. And then in working with intervention, and I have to say that, I've had the opportunity this spring to work with student services and inclusive ed intimately, leading those teams and reviewing like where we're at and where we need to go. And it's been a fabulous opportunity to really look at and see the connections. And so that's something that I'll be working with Ms. Kaler and Ms. Lurson on, is making sure that we're not siloing and that we're combining our efforts and getting those experts and that passion to work together. So we work smarter, not harder, across campuses and then across the grade levels as well. So that's super exciting to me. Next slide, please. Okay, expanded organizational capacity. So we want to make sure that we can continue to do what we're doing well. So looking at our non-site based programs, leadership, and attracting, retaining, developing our staff. Next slide, please. So we have some new data here. Staff retention I talked about a little bit. The staff that have been here 5 years or more is going up. Retention is up. We did see the PACT and ECA enrollment go down a little bit this year. I talked about this last month a little bit with the WASC report, where we're seeing, as schools are opening up and more things are happening on campuses, less students that are going into the non-traditional setting. So we're working on that. And then employee evaluation or satisfaction with leadership opportunities, which Amy Kaler's been working on the aspiring leaders. We've been trying to put different leadership opportunities out there for our staff to help them develop and grow. So that's up as well, which is great. And then for this, the highlights, we have our rebranding, the Early College Academy. Looks like it's doing great. We've got 147 students ready for fall, which just thrills me to no end, since I used to be the principal of that academy for a long time. So I'm super happy to see them growing and expanding and really digging into the dual enrollment. Let's see, our HR team has been working, I've been working with them really a lot this year, and we've gone to over 10 different job fairs, getting out there, even starting a charter one. So really trying to expand our net when we're trying to find staff members. I know that we just hired a bunch of math teachers, and we, like, I don't know, the majority of them were all bilingual. I was super excited, like just having that diversity and that having them reflect our students is really exciting. And then, of course, all of our facilities projects that Dr. Wood has been working so diligently on. All right, and then next slide. This is the last question. And it's so nice to see that the things that are here were in the PFAA report. Just saying, it makes my day. So,
Yeah, I have a couple
Yeah.
questions. One is when you mentioned in goal number one, when you analyze successes, co-teaching and math raise scores. Can you give us any more detail about that?
sure. So we had Tracy Callan, who's one of our education specialists at PFAA, and Stephen Osborne, who's one of the middle school math teachers. They had a class where Ms. Callan was pushing in as an education specialist, and they started working together. And they said, hey, what if we were to do some co-teaching? And so what that can look like many different things, but what they ended up doing is they would have the main lesson, and then they would have the students go into kind of stations, right, where they'd rotate around. And so some of the kids would work with Mr. Osborne, some of them would work with Ms. Callan, some of them would work independently, and they would kind of rotate through. And so that way they would group the students differently so that they could get the, if this group of kids are having trouble with, say, fractions or polynomials or whatever, then they could work with just those kids and kind of clarify those things. And then the next group maybe needed help with decimals or something, and they could work with them. And so that co-teaching model where you can just really differentiate and separate out, so you're not just teaching the same thing to everyone, you're giving everybody the main concepts, but then you're able to support and help differently in small groups, is what they were doing. And when we did the iReady in January, that classroom, that group of kids, their scores went way up. So that told us that by doing that, we're able to meet the needs of those kids and just fix those little pieces, right? It's like they just don't understand that one little thing, and then it makes all the harder things harder to do. And so that's what research says in all of the literature, but we kind of did a little pilot and saw that right here in our own house. And so that's why we're moving forward with that.
And so when you're moving forward, it's gonna be like grade, like all math? Grade level?
So there's different sections of each math course, right? So there's like in middle school, there's math A, B, and C, right? So say there's 4 sections of math A. One of those sections will be co-taught, right? And then in math B, there's 4 sections. One of those sections will be co-taught. And then in math C, there's 4 sections. One of those will be co-taught, so that they can look at the needs of the students and kind of make sure that they're supporting whichever section has the biggest needs. And I know that was a huge achievement for our counseling staff, and Ms. Maka and Ms. Shane Tiffany, as they looked at all of the needs of the kids and the unwieldy schedule and trying to get the teachers in the rooms and everything to work out. And so they were able to put everybody together, and now we're just ready for the magic to happen in the fall. So I'm hoping we're gonna see some really good things.
So that's good, explaining that now. And the only other question I have is regarding goal 1 under measures, the college application rate. If students are not applying to a 4-year, we don't collect that data?
So the data we collect is them applying to 4-year universities.
So is there any reason why, especially given economics, and now that community colleges are free, I would like to see that and I know it's harder because they go to community college but to track them, to see where they go. Because I think that's a real trend, and I think our students, I used to be a college recruiter, and I was always kind of pushing the 4-year university because, especially for low-income minority students, because they could see the 4-year goal and they wouldn't get distracted or get caught in, we used to call that the revolving door,
Yeah.
where they
Yeah.
take classes and classes, they don't take transferable classes at the community college. And so when they finally decide what they want, they have all these units, right? And it doesn't count. So that's always been my orientation. But now, since I have a kid who's going into 11th grade and is really into math and has had amazing math experience and other experiences as well here, you know, I'm open to him going to a community college to kind of mature and figure out what he wants to do with these skills that he has. And because he's that kind of kid, right? You know, college has been ingrained since day one, and grad school, that's the other piece I put in there, grad school, to have him continue thinking long-term about college and education. But my point is that I think we're gonna see more and more kids, right? Go to community college. And then transfer and do some amazing things. And I would like us to keep track of those amazing things that kids from NCS, from PFAA and ECA go and accomplish. And if we don't collect the data, then we won't know.
Well, and I'd have to say that these data points were things that were written into our LCAP. And so that's why I'm reporting on them.
Sure.
The counselors have data on the community college and like all of the places where they're going.
Right.
And then we work with the National Clearinghouse, which is a data source that tracks students. And that's actually part of the data that I'll be collecting is like the persistence rate of students, but we don't get that till fall. So they have to collect it from the colleges to know if the kids stayed in school. So we are looking at those other pieces. We just, as a part of the LCAP, have not had that, but we get to write a whole new LCAP in 2024 for the next 3 years. So that could be a piece of data that we put in, but I do know that the counselors have that data, and we're tracking it, and it's just not a part of what I have to report out on.
The other piece too that I think is changing, it's a little hard for us to track, is remember, we're one school to the outside world.
Right.
So when we look at that National Student Clearinghouse data, we don't know if we're looking at PFAA students or ECA students. And with ECA's closer relationship with Los Rios, the ECA students start having interactions with Los Rios as soon as their freshman year of high school. So they're much more comfortable, if you will, with the community college system than maybe ILP or BLA student of 5-10 years ago. And so I suspect we're actually going to see, especially coming from ECA, an even larger increase of students choosing to go to the community college because of the costs associated with trying to go directly to a four-year school, because they will already know how to work the system and be comfortable with the system. That freshman year class is like, part of it is literally going to the college and finding out where all the things are on campus and that sort of stuff. So I think we will see more and more of that, but as Laura is talking about, this could be a goal that we more formalize in our next LCAP in terms of how we track it. The National Student Clearinghouse data is not one-to-one. It doesn't give us individual student data. It's all in the aggregate. But it is the best that we have right now, because alumni have a tendency to not tell us where they're going, even when we ask them to. And so, that's, I think, that the other little struggle with it, but it's definitely something we're attending to, because I know, like Laura was saying, when I look at that, 74% number, so much of that is about the economics of college. And that's what we just keep hearing over and over and over again from families in the Natomas area is, they're oftentimes too wealthy to qualify for significant amounts of financial aid, but too not wealthy, I don't want to say poor, but too not wealthy to think like, oh, I can pay $20,000 or $30,000 a year for my child to go to a four-year college. And so they're making some really thoughtful and intentional economic decisions that are showing up in our data.
Yeah, and it's certainly economic, so there's no question about that. But it's also, I think, gives students a time to mature a little bit and to kind of figure out what four-year university really has the program that they're considering and make that decision to, leave home or whatever. And so it's economic, but also I think it's a time to give them a little space to grow a little bit and figure things out.
And I think this group of kids that are just recently leaving us, 9th, 10th, and 11th graders that were most impacted by COVID, are going to be a group that we're going, I mean, they just, even as high school students, they're a good 12 to 24 months behind their pre-COVID peers in terms of maturity. And I think there's gonna be a little blip there that we're gonna just see kind of go through the system, sorry.
Well, and especially the students from ECA where they're graduating with possibly their IGETC, which is all their general ed and things. So they're gonna just be, you know, a little bit away from that AA. So to finish that at the community college before transferring as a junior, maybe, you know, by, you know, in 1 year, I think is tantalizing. And just anecdotally from knowing all the seniors and the senior parents, like some of our super high performing, getting the awards kids are going to community college and didn't even apply just because that was the decision that their family made, you know, and so, you know, or some of them because they have younger siblings and they don't want to go far away and miss them growing up, which is maybe a component of, you know, COVID where we're so attached to our family. I'm not sure, but, you know, I don't think it's a bad thing that we're at 74%. So.
No, exactly. And I think also with this whole idea of the contracts, the transfer agreements.
Oh, yes.
I mean.
Well, and our counselors push that really hard, that, you know, all the students go there, they get the tag agreement, so the transfer agreement guarantee, and they know exactly where they're going. So.
Exactly, without having to go through that whole process of not knowing, well, where are you going to transfer to? It's, you make that commitment up front, and that's saves a lot of stress for the student and the parent.
Exactly.
Jen, was there something you were gonna add?
No, I was just thinking, I was going back to economic, because I agree with both of the things we're saying, but I have to believe that the student loan crisis that is getting so much media attention right now has to be impacting these numbers a lot. And I just, this is class of 23 data, right?
Yes.
That we're looking
Yes.
at here? Okay.
Yes, these recent grads.
I mean, I will say in the 10, 11 years that I've worked here, the kids are today much more financially aware of the cost of college than when I first started here 10. I mean, I remember when I started here 10, 11 years ago, because I did the transfer agreement, the tag process through community college, and I would explain that to people, I would get kind of like a skeptical eye. And now, what I say to kids like, oh, really? Where do I find out about that? Okay, go talk to Miss Shane Tiffany. She'll set you up with a plan with community college. These are the questions that you're gonna ask. And the kids are just, it's a different financial time, you know, and I think they're just a generation that, you know, this is also a generation that a lot of the kids in their early childhood was the last recession. And so their parents might still have stories that they're told of, you know, housing crisis they've ended up and stuff. So it's a different group of kids that are a little bit more financially skeptical and savvy. And certainly their parents are as well. And I think, you know, the last few years have just kind of called in question, what is the real value of a college degree? Like, you know, how much money is it really, really worth? And is there a more cost-effective way that you can do it?
Thank you.
Oh, come on.
Okay.
So we've heard twice now about the student absences issue. So I just I'm assuming at some point we'll get a little bit more information about exactly where we are with that and kind of what our plan is to.
So we have been addressing that. There's a couple of parts to it. One is with our short-term independent study. So you know, there are still some families that, you know, get COVID and then they're out for like a week or two. And then we can recoup that attendance if they're doing their work, right? Because sometimes you're too sick to do the work and other times you just watch TV too. And so if they don't do that, we're also seeing an increase in families just saying, oh, well, you know, we're gonna take off to here for a while and we're gonna go this lovely place for a while. And so we're seeing bigger groups and then oftentimes those kids come back without work completed. So that's a part of it, but we also have another group of students that are having maybe more medical or social emotional issues that are adding up in their in attendance, in absences, you know, and as we look at that, you know, you look at the individual student and you say, you know, yes, this student needs to, you know, be well and, you know, go and, you know, and take care of themselves, but it still is racking up. And then the principals have been actively working with the families and holding like the students' attendance review process meetings, and I know I've gone in for a lot of those where we, look at what are the conditions, what is making the student not be able to attend school, how can we work, on it, and really looking at the seriousness of, if you're not here, you're not getting the benefit. There's a financial, liability for us, right? But really the focus is students first, in that if you're not here, you're not, feeling like you belong, you're losing the connection with your peers. When you come back in, you're not feeling like you're a part of things, you're missing out on academics and that first, good instruction. So, there's a lot of pieces to that. And so we've been working really diligently with the families. And I would have to say there was a senior that earlier in the year, we were in one of those meetings, and we, I just remember we were like, okay, we can do this. And my heart soared when I got to shake the hand of that kiddo walking the stage. I was like, and this works, so, it is, it's a process, and, sometimes it's outside factors impacting the kids and the families, and sometimes it's internal, factors. So we've really been working closely, but definitely I think that overall impact from COVID of a little more laissez-faire, type of thing about having to be where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there is something that we're working with as well. So
all of what Laura says has gone into the mix, just to throw in some numbers in there, based on our P2 attendance. We're seeing like Natomas Unified, they're down in the 90s as far as that goes. Where all of our academies are experiencing really low rates, but it's the improvement with the short-term independent study and stuff. And we can do it for one day if we wanted to. So our average at P2, rounded up, is 95%, which is significantly better than the surrounding districts. About 2% lower than our average or so, and 1% difference in attendance is about $282,000 and stuff too. But just so that you know, 95% with everything that Laura just mentioned, I wanted to kind of throw out there, has brought that back up, because you've seen our elementary go as low as 92%.
The biggest challenge I see is that really getting parents to understand that we need your kids to come to school.
Yeah.
And to a certain degree, we need you to be a parent and make them come to school. One of the big challenges that we're facing is that the district attorney's office is no longer prosecuting families for truancy and not bringing their students to school. So there used to be, as part of these SARP and SARB meetings, there used to be some teeth at the end of it, right? Like, well, if you don't do this might happen. And they're so overwhelmed and understaffed with a million other things that this is just not an area that they're really focusing on. And it is a challenge. I know Garrett told me about a student today that's one of our high needs, high concern students, and the parents are like, we're gonna take 2 weeks of independent study at the beginning of the year. And so we're gonna have to have a follow-up conversation about that family, about that. No, your kid really does need to come to school, and this is the type of thing that's impacting their grades.
Or taking the last week of school off, which is finals with a high schooler. So, it's like, that's their final exams,
And we are moving forward with involuntary disenrollment for students that have significant numbers of unexcused absences. So our policy is that at 50 days of unexcused absences, we can move forward with involuntary disenrollment. 15.
Oh,
15,
1-5.
1-5. And where that comes from is typically, we would exercise that policy when someone didn't show up for the first 3 weeks of the school year, let's say, or first weeks after a semester. But now, post-COVID, people are like, oh, we can be gone for any old reason. They're racking up faster and faster. And I know we actually have a meeting with our legal counsel in a couple weeks. This is one of the questions I want to kind of review with them a little bit, is like, we don't want to end with involuntary disenrollment, but if a family is just straight up refusing to bring their kid to school or complete their independent study in the case of PACT or ECA, we're seeing things we didn't see before the pandemic, of just people kind of just choosing not to do the thing, but also not finding another option for themselves that's going to be a better fit for them. So we're going to have to do, I think, a little more work about holding some families accountable to bringing their kids to school. And unfortunately, it might be that our only option is saying, well, if you don't, then we're going to disenroll you. Especially if there's not going to be a district attorney sort of, a truancy enforcement component to it. So we're working on it. It is, we're in a better place than we were a year ago, but we still have work to do. And as Anita's highlighting, like, it's statewide, nationwide. And so, all of the schools and districts are really trying to work together on how do we do this? How do we make sure that all the families bring all their kids back? And sometimes we need parents to be tough love with their kids at home, which means that we have to be tough love with the parents.
And I wonder if the other issue too is, and I'm sure you're working on this, where you instill in the kid wants to come to school and will just not, just stand up to, just kind of let the parent know, I gotta go, I have to. Yeah, so I don't know if there's incentives, I know it's probably some.
Well, and that's part of our theme for next year is belonging, right?
There you
And you have to be here,
Right.
right, to make those relationships, to be a part of something, and so making it really, advantageous to be here. But you look at, kids when they're younger, even middle school, the parent says, hey, we're out of town, there's not much they can do about it. Even if they really want to go to school. So, I think it's bringing the whole family into the We Belong. And I know that Tosas and I were coming up with some strategies for how do we get the families to feeling they're here and a part of it and wanting to be here.
Do you think that families are feeling like the independent study is a substitute for the in-person classroom instruction? I mean, if you are gone for a week and you do the independent study, how successful are the students with reinserting themselves back into the classroom and being able to keep up with what has transpired since?
I would say it's generally okay. I mean, especially if it's just like a week. What I'm seeing as a pattern is just families questioning the purpose of bringing your kids to school on the school year calendar. Like just saying, you know what, I want to take my kids to France. And this is the week that the airfare was the cheapest, so we're going to France. Like I'm seeing more of that than families necessarily logically thinking independent study is a good alternative. It's more of, there's this thing I want to do, and this is the time in which I can do it. And so we're just gonna do it. And sometimes it's a family wedding in another country, or it's, like I said, this is when tickets are on sale. And I mean, from a parent standpoint, I understand, and I'm sure you guys do as well, Lonnie, sometimes things happen at an inconvenient time and there's just not really a way around it. But I think that the pandemic just created a scenario where, so many more people are remote working now. So it's like, well, why can't my kids do this, this version of remote school, right? Or because the parent has more flexibility, wanting the kid to have more flexibility. Not so much flexibility that they want to switch to a homeschool program or an independent study program, but maybe more flexibility than a site-based program would traditionally have. And certainly we've tried to meet families where they're at with, providing up to 2 weeks of short-term independent study and encouraging families to combine that short-term independent study maybe with a fall break or a Thanksgiving break or a spring break, so you get a little bit of an extension of time there. But independent study is a second level substitute to being at school. And no amount of independent study can replace in-person learning, hands-on things like labs and field trips and that sort of thing. And so, getting to Maria's idea, definitely, working with teachers and staff on really helping kids understand how important it is to be here so that you can advocate for yourself at home, but at the same time also recognizing that some families are just gonna do it. And, so what can we do, to best support? And then where do we set limits? So that's where we've been really firm with, no, it's 10 days. It's not 15, it's not 20, it's not 25, it's 10. And we've had to get firmer about, declining independent study requests at the start of the school year and the end of the school year. I know there's a couple of families we've already had to say, hey, I get you want to do that, but if your kid misses the first 3 days of school, we are going to drop them from enrollment. Like, we need you to come. There are 91 other students on the waiting list, and it's not fair to those individuals that are waiting in that particular grade level. And so, I'm sure as a board, you'll get some public comment and some flack about it, but I think it's, some renorming that we're going to be doing with students and families and with staff, for the next few years is, these are our norms, these are our standards, this is what we're willing to do. We will provide flexibility where we can within those. But if you've chosen to bring your kid to PFAA, they need to come to school all the days of the school year. That's just this, you know.
Well,
what
and
we're
just
doing.
keeping in mind that those absences are for like unavoidable things.
Yes, you are
right?
safe.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
know, just like as staff members, those absences, those sick days we get, are for when you're truly, out sick, and so you wanna save it for that. But we also have seen more this year than in the past, parents who will sign the kid up for independent study and then think that's the whole process. And that they won't like sign the master agreement or, sign off on their kids doing work and, and so it's re-communicating that part of the process as well. So just, to ensure that the kids have kind of a chance at keeping up with their.
I have a question. How much does the attendance play into like minimum days and stuff?
Like when we schedule minimum.
Yeah,
Um,
I feel that seems to be a struggle sometimes too, because the days are so short.
oh, the
Like,
meaning of being out on
Like
minimum
being
days.
attendance wise, right? Like how often do we see kids missing school on, say, like days where it's a shortened day?
That's not really the issue, largely because our minimum days are often something else is going on, like portfolio projects or, this type of activity. What we more see it on is Mondays and Fridays. And those are our lowest attendance days of the week, especially if those Mondays and Fridays are associated with a break of any sort, so like
Or
the
long
Friday
weekend.
before fall break or and we see the same thing with employee absenteeism and, we're having to have conversations with employees that we haven't had previously. It's really this post-pandemic, the world is more flexible, I can do. I mean, I know I don't mean to harp on this, but like when a lot of state workers go back to the office 5 days a week, I think some of these problems are going to go away. Because I'm just noticing, we're small enough school, like we know which families are gone and where their families work. And I just have seen a strong correlation between individuals working for state agencies and their children having more absenteeism.
My kids are dare
Often on Mondays and Fridays.
The kids tell us.
And the kids tell us,
They tell
yes.
They're like, oh, we're going here,
Yeah,
even
we're going
though
to Disneyland this
the
weekend.
message might be something else, like.
And the
Yeah.
kid will say things like, my dad's job lets him work more remotely, flexibly, so we're gonna go to Disneyland for the next 2 days. I'm not anti-remote work, I just want people to come to school.
Yeah. Joe and I both have state workers, so.
Yeah, yes.
and we understand, but, yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Laura.
Yeah.
All right, in a shameless attempt to get back on our agenda.
Sorry.
Now that Form 700s have all been turned in. Yes,
Yes.
yes, someone wants to talk to us about parking lot lines.
Well, Lord, you asked and we delivered, okay? Francisco Barajas spent the past several weeks getting quotes from different vendors about the striping in the parking lot. And in 2 weeks from now, they're gonna do some striping out there. That first, I was gonna have like a beautiful schematic for you and all the things, but that didn't happen, so just work with me here. So that first section where normally, in the mornings, there's 2 cars, and in the afternoon, there's that last thoroughway, there's gonna be 3 lanes there. Striped lanes. When we need to block off a lane, we'll just use cones. We're gonna redo all the fire lanes and repaint those, and they're gonna re-stripe or reword the exit and the entrance, like do not enter, do not exit, that kind of thing. It came in just under $4,000 or so. And we're looking forward to, I tried to do the whole, can we just let them eat themselves and we'll just sit up on the roof and watch, Joe won't let me do that. And so, we're gonna try this, I think it'll help a lot, because as you all know, just if one car is slightly askew, it throws everything off. I don't think it's gonna help with congestion, it's not gonna help with some of the backing up, none of that's gonna change, but it'll help us get people through faster when that one car is just slightly over. And we're looking forward to that.
What color is it gonna be white or what color the stripes?
White, yeah,
White, yeah,
yeah, white stripes and then the red for the curbs and then the white for the wording. And then we're gonna also work on some signage, some bigger signage and better signage around campus to just kind of make things a little easier and more identifiable for folks.
We're also working on some traffic flow videos to help you understand how the traffic goes through a lot. And I think a lot of messaging around.
We're serious.
Yeah. Wait 5 or 10 minutes, you will have a lot less of a headache, but
I'm almost thinking too, I mean, like somebody mentioned, having someone at that, when you turn
Yes.
in, right there, like designated right there, because
Mhm.
literally, it was about a couple weeks ago, a guy, was kind of, it's not 2 lanes when you're coming down
Right.
Black Rock Street, but it's kind of the custom, move over. And so some car was honking, and then I honked at one of the cars too, because they were right in the middle.
Oh.
And it's like, no one can go around. And then when I go around after the first person honks, dude rolls down his window, and I have my windows down. He starts yelling at me.
Oh.
I'm like, hey, this is the way stuff goes. I don't give up, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I'm just trying to explain to you this. Never mind, I'm just going. But yeah, you're getting a lot of that. So I know we can't control the main street lines.
Yeah. Although South PD was out last week and the week before monitoring and ticketing. So, I think they were ticketing.
Oh, really?
So that's definitely something, I think we're also going to be advertising is, what's been happening is SAC PD. The last couple of days times they were here, I was a little nervous, I'm leaving, and I'm like, why is there a police officer sitting by the business office? Like, what's happening? And so I went and talked to them, they're like, oh, we're ticketing people that aren't stopping appropriately at the stop sign. We're ticketing people that are like blocking, impeding traffic or in different lanes. I mean, they were very appreciative of everything that we were doing, but they also said, you're never gonna be able to solve all the problems. Like we need to come out here and do some more traffic enforcement because people are, and it's not just our parents, it's also just the neighborhood as a whole. They're not adhering to traffic laws. And they've gotten a lot of complaints, about, student and neighborhood safety. And so, they're coming out and they're trying to do more enforcement, everything from what lane of traffic you're driving in to not impeding the bike lanes to, speeding through the stop signs or not following, the speed of the traffic. But I think the stripes will help, and then we'll kind of see what we need to do from there. One chunk at a time.
Thank you.
Looking forward to the videos.
Yes, I think the videos will be especially important.
Would any of you like to be actors in videos? I'm not kidding, I'm being serious.
She's been recruiting.
Really?
More drive-through. I'll say that again. I'll have some board members on that.
Would you like me to drop my child off while we're doing it?
Yes.
And also
You should
just
absolutely.
to remember that all people driving supposed to get a driver's license.
Yes.
Okay.
Dr. Wood?
Well, if you didn't already know, summer's here. Today's first day of summer. A couple quick things. So first, thank you to everyone who came to graduation and promotions over the last week or so. They were beautiful and gorgeous and heartwarming in so many different ways. Summer school does kick off tomorrow. So we have elementary and middle school running 4 days a week for the next 3 weeks. So till June 30th, about 130 kids doing that. And then high school is for the next 4 weeks with about 65 students that are doing credit recovery, so making up any Ds or Fs. We have a ton of summer facilities projects going on. So even though, the students have gone home, this is the busy time of year for the business office, our AT department, our facilities team. So PAC Phase 2, they've been grinding and leveling the floors up there as poor Alicia got to observe today. Getting ready for doing that project. The gates and fences, they're supposed to start really get rolling next Monday, but they're doing some setup work this week. And then the district is coming out and doing some pretty significant work on our fields over here during the summer. So they're re-leveling our track, and then they're also doing some aerating and working with Francisco and the team on sprinklers. We also, on all campuses, the custodial team is doing deep cleaning, including pressure washing the buildings, which we haven't been able to do for the last 3 years because of the drought. So while we have water, we're taking care of that. Also, Francisco is working with Anita on, we have a bark vendor that's going to be coming out with jet mulch and basically like putting bark in all of our things. So we have some fun projects going on. And just last thing, thank you to you guys as a board. The teachers and staff have gone home for the summer largely. But, we also just want to say thank you for all of your work as well in terms of, leading our school over the last year and some of the adventures that we've faced and facing. So we appreciate that. All right, that's my updates.
All right. Board of Director comments?
Great comments, great.
I have two things.
Yes.
Yes, so first off, the soccer team, we didn't get them tonight, so,
We did not.
because they've gone. But congratulations to the soccer team, maybe we'll get a chance to bring them in the fall, or maybe they'll forget. That's for pink, and then, extending what Joe said about graduation, perhaps I have a bias for PFAA along with Laura. But the promotion ceremony for PAC was awesome. And then our PFAA graduation, I heard from so many people how great it was. And it's so well done and such a mix of all of the different talents from our school. It was perfect. So thank you all for that. Thank you to all of our teachers, staff, administrators, and students for another great year. And we'll be back sooner than we think.
2 weeks.
2 weeks, yes. So,
And please remember, about 2 weeks, we have to have a quorum, so if you're not gonna be here, please let me know. The meeting should be fairly quick, we're really limiting what we put on that agenda, it should just be a budget approval and the few things that we need.
Budget and LCAP, those are
Yeah.
two things you're approving. So should be a long meeting.
And who's gonna bring the sweets?
You.
Who's gonna bring the sweets? I'll bring them. Okay.
Oh, okay, sounds good.
Okay, I'll bring them.
you know, they recorded it.
Otherwise I can't take it back now, right?
You're committed.
No problem.
All right, future board agenda items besides desserts from Mita, is there anything else? All right, I will adjourn us at 8:09. Thanks, everyone. Oh, don't forget, sign the stuff.
Oh.